Yeah, Golgari Great Boy. The deck list tonight is a little bit spicy. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is a donation deck list. Let's get into it. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site exclusively for legacy, death, and taxes. Tonight, I'm going to be playing a donation deck list. I am going to be playing Enchantress. Now, there are a lot of different Enchantress builds running around. This one essentially is a green-white build that happens to play a few cards that are different colors. That's not that big of a deal. So the reason why it's not that big of a deal is because you have these cards like Abundant Growth and Utopia Sprawl that are going to let you produce color of any mana. This Enchantress list is a little bit different from anyone that I've ever played before. A lot of the ones that I'm playing are like these 4-color decks that have a bunch of non-basic lands, but if you look over in this pile, there's not even any fetch lands here. So let's start looking through the deck list and see why that makes sense. Oh, Lasco, thank you very much for your continued support. Took me a second to read that comment there, and I'm glad to have you around. I think tonight's going to be fun. So, for anyone just kind of unfamiliar with the general idea of Enchantress, the general idea is that you get either an Argothian Enchantress or an Enchantress's presence into play. These let you draw a card whenever you cast an enchantment spell. So that turns all these like little dorky 1-mana things into little dorky 1-mana things that draw a card. And putting draw a card onto something can make even sort of a mediocre effect very, very good. Hey, I can understand being forced out by Jeopardy, especially if you have someone that you normally watch it with. I get that. That's why the VODs go up on YouTube later. All right, so let's talk about a couple of things that make this Enchantress deck list unique. Number one, this one is playing Suppression Field. This says activated abilities cost 2 more to activate unless they are mana abilities. So things like Rishadan Port, Wasteland, Fetchland, Jace, Jitte, Vial, Suppression Field kind of like tries to gimp those. So this Enchantress deck kind of has like a soft prison mana denial element with these Suppression Fields here. So sort of another thing that it's got going on is a Living Wish package. Living Wish lets you search your sideboard for a creature card or a land card and put it into your hand. So this is essentially the 4th copy of a lot of things that are in the main deck, as well as access to some additional silver bullets. So this is the 4th Sarah Sanctum and the 4th Enchantress. But otherwise, this gives you access to some unique effects, like Bojuka Bog and Caracas for opposing, like, say, combo decks. Eidolon of Rhetoric, Rex Sage, Doomwake Giant, and Fairy Macabre all have utility in all sorts of matchups, and it also gives you access to your win condition. Your primary win condition in this deck is Emrakul the Aeon's Torn. Your goal is to just, like, take 15 mana, cast this sucker, and kill your opponent. If we look at the ways that you can win in the main deck, not counting Living Wish, it's beat to death with a 2/2 Spirit Guide, if you didn't already answer it. There are very few ways to go and, like, actually win the game with this deck. Most of them involve Living Wish. So luckily, Living Wish is not something that can be surgical. When you cast this, it exiles itself. So unless it gets, like, countered and then surgicaled, you're in pretty good luck as far as, like, just not getting gimped off of your win conditions. Yeah, so Suppression Field is the baseline of a couple other Legacy decks, most notably like the Soldier Stompy deck. It's a very powerful effect, the issue being that most decks actually can't run it because most Legacy decks are doing something with activated abilities. Yeah, so in case you missed that right at the beginning, because Suppression Field affects fetch lands, you basically only want to play, like, forests. There's some merit to, like, going and running something like, say, Savannah, But just having basics around that can't really be mucked with is very good when you have like these abundant growths, utopia sprawls, and wild growths going on. Other than that, like 12 of the cards in the sideboard are essentially wish targets with duplicates of Gaddock Teeg and Reclamation Sage because they're very powerful. And sometimes you might want to like board one in, keep one in the board, or something like that. We have Into the Eye of Chaos, which is an enchant world. Don't see those very much more. Whenever a player casts an instant spell, counter that unless that player pays X, where X is its converted mana cost. So essentially, that effectively doubles the mana cost of every spell, which works really well for you in your Sarah's Sanctum deck, but not so well for your opponent. Into the Eye of Chaos is the name of that. Then we have a Choke, because Choke is sweet and good against blue decks. And Carpet of Flowers, because Carpet of Flowers is sweet and good against blue decks. Yes. Okay. Oh, sorry. That is, whenever a player casts an instant spell, counter it unless that player pays X. So never mind, that's even better than I thought. So for a lot of those like cantrip-based decks and control decks that are just spewing instants everywhere, that's one-sided death. I don't even think we have any instants in this entire deck. We've got some sorceries and Living with Wish and Green Sun. Yeah, that is not going to affect me at all. So I got a question. What are the pros and cons of running this deck in the actual meta? I imagine there are a lot of cons. I haven't played this deck enough to know what they are. I imagine the deck has a lot of weaknesses against certain archetypes. What I can say, like based on my experience with other Enchantress builds, is that generally speaking, enchantments are very difficult to deal with right now. Once you put an enchantment on the table, it's probably around for the rest of the game. You might see something like Council's Judgment or Abrupt Decay that can answer it, but that's about it. So the upside of running an Enchantress deck is that most of your stuff becomes very, very difficult to remove. If I were to take a guess, I'd imagine that like you're going to be relatively well off against blue decks, but a little weak to combo. Like if we just kind of like look at game one interaction versus combo, like we have these suppression fields, which maybe bothers them, and that's about it. So we're really looking to like grind out some of like the mid-rangey and controlling decks, I think. Whereas against the combo decks, we're not really going to race in a lot of situations. So, you know, based on my limited experience with this archetype, I'd say that the con is you're probably good against some of the slow blue decks, the mid-rangey decks, but you're going to be a little soft to combo, even after sideboarding, I think. Oh, well, Arkin, glad to have you. So this is a donation deck list from Draw Cards, Win Games in chat here. And I expect that they will yell at me from time to time when I mess up, but a lot of times these streams are about learning, right? You know, a lot of what I'm doing is at least somewhat educational in nature. So I've played Enchantress a decent amount before, but I've usually been playing with like a 4-color Words of Wind build that like really looks to bounce all of your opponent's permanents and then win the game. So this is a little bit different from what I've played before, so I'm looking forward to this. So to advertise future content here, I'll be back on Wednesday playing some 4-color Loam, and then on Saturday I'll actually be a guest on Arkin's channel. I believe it'll be about 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to flop on over to his channel for my content for the day, and we'll be playing a D&T League there. We are playing against Styropsis. So it looks like my opponent plays Ad Nauseam Tendrils. I'm going to keep this hand. I do have to kind of figure out what I want to do with it. It's a touch awkward. I don't have a 1-mana enchantment, which is sort of a big deal. But I have Living Wish, and the best way for me to steal a game 1 is to Living Wish into Teague. And I have a lot of 1-mana enchantments to draw into that will turn on my Serra Sanctum. I don't just want to, like, cold Living Wish for Teague, as I can't really cast it here. But I am fine with flopping the Enchantress into play on turn 1. The downside of Serra Sanctum here is that it does not produce any mana if you don't control an enchantment, which is exceedingly rare for this deck, but it is happening here. So if I draw a land, or if I draw a 1-mana enchantment, I'm probably in business. All right. Let me confirm that I have Dryad Arbor. I do have Dryad Arbor. It's about sending a message, chap. Never forget that. I could see the comparison to an Ewok. For anyone not familiar, Arkin has a really sweet legacy channel that's sort of like Star Wars themed, and all of his emotes are Star Wars sort of like parodies of like other Magic card things, and they're super cool. So if you ever hear me using any unusual Star Wars lingo, it's a nod to that channel. Ugh. All right, so I can Living Wish for a Teague here, but this doesn't actually produce white mana. See? It's super sad. Otherwise, I can just, like, play out my Enchantress's Presence, draw a card, and try to both, like, Living Wish and Teague next turn, which I think is going to be much better as a whole. Because now I can produce white, so next turn I can go Living Wish into Teague, cast Teague, and win the game. So this is my opponent's turn to shine. Yeah, we're very dead here. So my opponent discarded Past in Flames to their Lion's Eye Diamond, so now they flash that back. Oh, they even have the Tendrils in there already. Yep, so there you go, 7, 8, 9, and Tendrils mate. So we were one turn off of winning there. Note that in Game 1, they absolutely cannot beat a Gaddock Teague. Okay, so now I need a choice, like to make a choice about what I want to do in terms of my sideboarding, because like you have to be aware that your opponent has discard that can muck with them, but you also have to be aware of your green suns. So, that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to want to leave at least one tutor target in the sideboard, just so that I have a creature that I can wish for. Although wishing for In the Eye of Chaos might be good enough. So I'm probably going to bring in both of my Teagues and my Eidolon. I can leave this in the sideboard as a wish target. These can be in the deck to green Sun 4. This can be a naturally draw. This could just like stay in the sideboard as well. Oh shoot. Nope, this is creature or land. So I will need to leave one of these in the sideboard. I suppose it'll be the Eidolon. I'll leave that there. So this is going to need to come in. Carpet of Flowers is kind of medium. Bog's probably pretty weak. Choke is kind of medium. I probably won't over sideboard here too much. Back to Basics is probably of limited utility, as is Oblivion Ring. Solitary Confinement being a sweet card against this deck. So I think I'm going to leave the Eidolon in the sideboard to wish for. This will also leave Doomwake Giant in the board for in case they get goblins. Elephant Grass, also not stellar, but very good against goblins, and it's just like a 1-mana spell that will cantrip once I have an Enchantress effect in play. Bring in the 4th Serra Sanctum. I could see bringing in the 4th Serra Sanctum. Don't exactly know what I'd cut for it, though, to be honest. Maybe I'm supposed to, like, trim a suppression field. They're not, like, amazing. Let's try that. Okay. So I can turn to play In the Eye of Chaos. Because I'll have land, Lotus Petal, land, Abundant Growth, or Dryad Arbor to do it. So I'll keep this. I can also just, like, turn to get Teague as well. If I want my Serra Sanctum to tap for mana next turn, I do need to play Abundant Growth this turn or an enchantment next turn prior to tapping Sanctum. Yeah, so I'm going to play out the Lotus Petal this turn, and I will have one of either In the Eye of Chaos or Green Sun available to me next turn. Note, I could crack my Lotus Petal and, like, cast Green Sun for Dryad Arbor, but that doesn't seem like a fantastic trade. Oh, and Coffee Grit, thank you for the bits. I missed that a second ago. So I can sack Lotus Petal, play Utopia Sprawl. That'll mean this will tap for 2. I'll put Sanctum into play. That'll tap for 4 total. I think I'm going to play this first. I don't, want to play out the Teague and then have it immediately get, say, Fatal pushed or, bounced and die. I feel like if I play this turn, it makes it the most difficult for my opponent to win, because this helps to protect my other Haymaker card. So next turn on board, I have 4 mana. Potentially a bit more. So I'll green Sun for 2, get Teague, play Teague, and then set up, Living Wish Enchantress stuff for following turns. Yeah, I can see green being the bottleneck. That's not true of most of the Enchantress builds that I play. But I guess since I have a Serra Sanctum, it would have been correct to name green. Yeah, it's an error on my end. Yeah, that was XJ Cloud, who I'm usually hosting on this stream after I finish, because he tends to start streaming about 3 hours after I usually start, so that's usually right about the time that I'm wrapping up. Yeah, branching out is one of the best things that you can do as a Legacy player to improve. I wonder if opponent is frantically rereading this card. Wow. Opponent trying to go ham here. I don't think I want to copy that. So note here, it did not really matter whether I got into the Eye of Chaos or Gaddock Teague. Either way, it was getting bounced. And now we should be pretty dead here. So my opponent has mana, LED, and Tutor. I imagine I have got to be dead or very close to it. Oh, double LED. I'm certainly dead already then. What are you doing? Right? Dark Ritual will go up to 4 mana, Chrome Mox go up to 5 mana, Infernal Tutor go down to 2 mana, Double Crack LED go up to 8 mana, and that's already enough Storm. I should just be dead. I believe cardboard... Why is this ponder necessary? I'm so confused. Does my opponent, like, not have tendrils for some reason because they wanted to play around solitary confinement? Like, what's going on here? Sorry, to go back to the cardboard live thing. I think they have intentionally chosen to use older card arts on the extension. And I imagine that in the Eye of Chaos's Oracle text also did not work well. Opponent said, well, control didn't work there. Okay, that explains some of that. So that's good for me. I imagine they can still probably kill me somehow. Like, their hand was very good. It should be very forgiving. Maybe not. It's quite nice of them to use their Abrupt Decay and not save that in hand. So, sometimes lucky confirmed. So what do I know my opponent has? So these are gone, these are gone, one Ponder's gone, one Preordain's gone, Abrupt Decay is gone, Chrome Mox is gone, Dark Ritual, Infernal Tutor are gone, Misty's gone. I mean, we still might lose this game. Like, all my opponent needs to do is, like, use Preordain and Brainstorm to find a way to take Gaddock Teague off the table. Well, that's pretty okay. Alright, so how much mana do I have? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. Or no, sorry, 1, 2, 3 mana. Abundant Growth doesn't produce mana. It just, like, makes my Sacrosanctum tap for mana. So I can't really Living Wish for anything properly, so I guess that means I just, like, play in the Eye of Chaos. I could just, like, play Solitary Confinement and then just, like, plan on discarding 2 cards. Make it so that I have Shroud. But if my opponent bounces Teague, they can still make a bunch of goblins and it becomes a problem. This is probably fine. This will make it so that if my opponent, like, bounces Teague to try to kill me, that they can't just Tendrils me out, they have to empty. And if they empty, I have Elephant Grass, which can hold off the token army for a few turns at the very least. Yeah, sometimes when playing online, people misclick, and it is costly. This is one example of that. I'm still not 100% to win this game, but I'm very likely to win. My opponent can't even, like, fetch, because if they fetch, Gaddock Teague attack just kills them. Now I wait. Caranosaurus, thank you very much for throwing your Twitch Prime money this way this month. I appreciate your support. Oh no, it's not tax time yet. I mean, there's no Thalias on screen, so why would the IRS be yelling at me? I guess this is sort of a tax. Bye, Lasco. Please, please, please do something. I'm ahead by like 6 minutes on clock. Anything, something, please. I don't care. Win or lose. I just want to play Magic. Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. In all seriousness, though, there are a lot of great and wonderful legacy streamers, and a lot of great streamers more generally. So, for example, I was a guest on Anurag Das's stream the other night, and he put together like a really amazing GP coverage team to do an English dub of the Japanese GP. So, like, it was me, Cyrus, Anurag, Edgar Margales, and a handful of other just like really talented people. And it was really sort of a cool project that kind of came together at the last minute, but I'm really glad that it happened. So, just sort of like on that note, to talk about GP data, Chalice of the Void is a good Magic card. Chalice was all over the place in all sorts of different archetypes. You know, it was present in like the Eldrazi Post deck, the Eldrazi Aggro deck, the Red Prison deck. It was just like all over the place. No, I think my opponent is mad because they fucked up their turn, right? Like they were supposed to go and cast Infernal Tutor, hold priority, crack their LEDs, and they didn't do so. So I think they're just nope, there they go. Uh, uh. Come on. Come on. Alright, so they can Infernal Tutor, try to crack LEDs. They have succeeded. In one. Presumably, this will get a Past in Flames, and they'll go like. Well, they've got a number of lines that they can take. They'll probably like Past in Flames, make a bunch of goblins. They might have a better line though. Like they can probably like try to Past in Flames, make a bunch of goblins, and then like try to beat my Solitary Confinement in that way. Or no, they can't. They can't Past in Flames due to my Gaddock Teeg. I was thinking like they were going to like answer that and then go off with Past in Flames. So they must have an answer. 2 Teague. In hand to try to go off. Or they got Past in Flames and I don't know. I'm going to stop thinking about it. Alright, so how much mana do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. And I'm not going to draw a card this turn due to solitary confinement. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can't really Living Wish for something I would want to Living Wish for Eidolon. So I'll probably just like discard Living Wish this turn. Actually, I should probably just discard In the Eye of Chaos. So we don't get to see what he revealed. But I have to think it's something that answers Gaddock Teague, and it's not Fatal Push, otherwise my opponent just would have Fatal Pushed this. So I think it's Past in Flames, and my opponent is going to like try to spike an answer. So that makes me want a Living Wish for Bog. No, this is not my build. This is a donation deck list. I think this lag means my opponent is conceding. Yeah. So this is draw cards, win games build from chat. Okay, do I want to change anything? Probably not. I could just like board out another suppression field. They're kind of weak, and just like bring another Enchantress in. That way I just have like a greater natural chance of having one in my hand. I don't love suppression field in this matchup. Like, I think it's weak. I think it's even weaker now that I'm on the draw. So what can I bring in if I board these out? Like, I want to leave this to tutor for. 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 So I could play Fairy, and I could play like a Choke or a Rex Sage or a Carpet of Flowers. Be an XDC or maybe like Ben XDC. Thank you very much for your continued support. 3 months, 3 exclamation points. Makes sense. One of Rex Sage as a random Green Sun target to blow out a Lion's Eye Diamond that was played out is not unreasonable. I think Carpet of Flowers also is not unreasonable. Oh, I'm glad. So on that note, the Black-White D&T stream I did the other day, that just made it onto YouTube today. I realized I forgot to upload it. So if you didn't catch that one yet, it just went up this afternoon. I'm gonna play the Carpet of Flowers. It's just like one more 1-drop that like can draw a card. Yeah, Goblin Lackey, we're not made for this sort of thing, right? Like, in my sort of like initial analysis of the deck list, I thought we'd be kind of soft to combo. So I have all the mana in the world, and literally nothing that matters to cast. This one needs to go back. This is game 3. This I will keep. So I have turn 1, cast Utopia Sprawl on my forest. Turn 2, have plenty of mana. This can go on top. I'm not going to want to like cast this early, but I am going to want to have it. Yeah, I feel like a huge dog to combo. Opponent playing very slowly here. They seem new to their deck, and I'm not just saying that because they messed up the Infernal Tutor. So I already have the turn 2 hate card. I already have turn 2 cast Green Sun Zenith for X equals 2, so I don't need to Living Wish this turn. Yes, this is an unusual Enchantress deck. I'm going to take white here in case I naturally draw one of the Teagues. Nope, looks like my opponent is just going to turn to me. Alright, opponent has a lot of mana. A Past in Flames kill should be very easy, but they don't have a tutor yet. So I'll basically be dead once they hit a tutor. There's nothing that kills you in the deck yet. You should probably keep going. The ad nauseum's in your hand. The only thing that kills you is a Dark Petition. You only have one cantrip. If you just stop here, it's probably very bad for you. I would personally continue. Alright, so this is going to be Chrome Mox, probably pitch an Abrupt Decay. Yep. Thoughtseize, sure. That'll take one of these two cards. I think at this point my opponent should hold the Preordain. Like, if they didn't cast it earlier this turn as the first thing, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to try to do it now. No, Chrome Mox isn't all that unusual. Okay, so this was not a Ponder that was flipped. This was a Ponder that was in their hand. If they had a Ponder, I certainly would have done that prior to Thoughtseize. Yeah, they had a handful of cards around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So one unknown in hand. It needs to be Infernal Tutor, basically, for a win. which it is appearing it might be. Ugh, go on. Go faster. Please. I have a family. I love it. Oh my god, after all of this, is it just preordained? Is it like start to go off and then preordain, see if they can make it work? I hope not. That is a lot of Chrome Mox. Alright, opponent is going to play Past in Flames and try to cantrip their way to a win. Alright, they bottom with preordain. Well, I mean, I think my opponent just like made a mistake by not taking another card or two with their ad nauseum. Like, they can lose if they flip exactly Dark Petition, a one of, with, like, what, at the time, something like 45 cards remaining in library. I think you, like, take another hit or two to try to make it significantly easier to go off. Yeah, this is absurd. Like, in my stream I did with Cyrus, I think like my actual matches for like 5 rounds lasted something like an hour and 20 minutes. This is ridiculous. All right, now opponent is just like literally wasting my time. They're all right. I guess that does something. All right, at this point, I'm going to turn off auto yields and try to time them out. So the brainstorm now basically needs to either find a tendrils. Yeah. Or Infernal Tutor, and a way to get Hellbent. That's super frustrating. I guess I should have like not F6'd through their entire turn and just like wasted more of their clock. But I was pretty convinced that they were dead. And now they've F6'd. Alright. Opponent played poorly, got themselves out of it. So be it. I'm more upset. I don't like care about the loss, but I care about like the amount of my time that was wasted. That's frustrating. Yeah, like I'm all about people using Magic Online to learn. It's fine. But like they shouldn't have to sit there for 6 minutes on a brainstorm. Uh, hopefully that doesn't set the tone for tonight. Kaluma, that second Adnaz was not from deck. That was from graveyard. That was flashback via Past in Flames. So I don't think they're actually playing multiple Past in Flames. I find that very unlikely, in fact. A Thoughtseize a second one to get Hellbent? Oh, I see. Okay, I missed that. I was ignoring what they were doing at that point already. All right, we are playing against Thomas Hepp, who will be on Turbo Depths. Or, sorry, I should say Bug Depths, more accurately. So what does my deck do against that deck? All right, he just left the stream. The jig is up. He knows what I'm playing. So, what's my game one plan? Elephant Grass is very good. Living Wish for Caracas is pretty good. Suppression Field is pretty okay as well. If my opponent Thought seizes me or equivalent on turn 1, my Enchantress goes bye-bye, but otherwise I get turn 1 Enchantress. What would my turn 2 be? My turn 2 would be nothing. But I do have 2 Enchantress effects. I'm going to keep this one. I think it needs some help. Generally speaking, it's been my experience playing other Enchantress builds that if you can keep a hand that has an Enchantress, a lot of times you can get the rest of what you need. And like, if I get Thought Seized or other discard spell, which is very likely, I lose out on my first Enchantress effect, but I still have a second, and I still have a Merit Lodge answer. I'll probably play my Dryad Arbor on turn 1. Like, play Dryad Arbor, Lotus Petal, pass. Yeah, there's the... Ooh! I'm fine with, like, double Lotus Petaling to play Enchantress is present this turn. That's okay with me. It does mean I won't have white for the Oblivion Ring, which is slightly awkward, but it does make like my potential top decks actually go somewhere, and that's not something that I have right now. Land, not what I want to see there, obviously. There's a Hex Mage. That should be death. So I guess I can. All right, I can play the Abundant Growth and then draw into Elephant Grass. Yes! Everything's fine, chat. Everything's fine. So this Elephant Grass is not 100% sticking around. My opponent might have like some Abrupt Decays or something like that. I forget his exact configuration for whether or not they're in the main deck. I think they are. So, like, it's possible that this can eat it at some point. Yeah, we're very favored, but this isn't over. Living Wish. How much mana do I have? A whopping 3 mana, unfortunately. I can turn that into a bunch. So I can go, like, green, Living Wish, get Sarah's Sanctum, produce 4 mana, cast Oblivion Ring. I guess, like, O-Ring a Mox. Like, O-Ringing 1 Vampire Hexmage doesn't really do anything. And go from there. I could just get Caracas. But I think the way that I win this game is just keep Elephant Grass in play forever. And I think Sarah's Sanctum is what's going to let me do that. All right, yeah, and he's done with me now. This is a matchup where Suppression Field will be fire, especially if I can just like play one on turn 1 off a Lotus Petal. That seems absolutely fantastic. So the Caracas probably needs to stay in the sideboard for me to wish for, so I can have more effective copies of it. I may be sideboarding very few cards here. Because, like, my best things are here, and I probably want to leave them in the board to wish for. Doomwave Giant, while not looking fantastic, is probably a way to take Vampire Hex Mages off the tables, and Bobs if my opponent is playing them. I might just whack Submit without making any changes. Like, Elephant Grass is great in this matchup, and that's usually a card that I trim. Yeah, everything seems good. I don't think I want anything. That's unusual. I might want the other Enchantress in, actually. Because I have so much better wish targets than an Enchantress. I might just want to play that. Is there anything I want to cut? I could cut like a piece of mana. Yeah, I do feel kind of pre-boarded. Okay, yeah, I guess Oblivion Ring's medium. I could agree with that. It just helps if they have like some random BS that like sometimes these decks sideboard. So I don't hate it. But I think I'm gonna play one Enchantress over an Oblivion Ring. Alright, so I can produce an Enchantress on turn 1 if my opponent doesn't discard spell me. If my opponent does discard me, I'm going to get a whole bunch of redraws off of Abundant Growth. This isn't like a suppression field hand or anything. Is this still fine? If I get to make a turn 1 Enchantress and just like go ham with Abundant Growths, I can probably draw into some great interaction. I'm going to keep this. These Lotus Petals in this deck are so weird. I don't know how I feel about them, but they're letting me do some really broken things. Tom's laughing at me in chat. Geez, another Lotus Petal. I guess I'm just going to start by Abundant Growthing this one, and then just, like, see what I draw and go from there. I could play another Forest and then, like, Abundant Growth that one instead. Alright, here we go. It's off to the races. Alright, so this now taps for 2. Opponent is indeed playing Stifle. I can just cast an Abundant Growth, or I can Living Wish for, like, Caracas preemptively. That would play around discard, because, like, it can't take a land. I can also just, like, cast Abundant Growth and try to have a crap ton of mana for next turn. Just by, like, paving the way for, like, Serra Sanctum to be insane. Opponent did not crack the map there. I'm not sure if that means they don't know what they want yet, or that they need a little bit more time to do things. So I think my plan this turn is to Living Wish and then like play Caracas. So I think I'm gonna like force my opponent to do something with their map. And see what I draw with this Oblivion Ring. Ooh, actually. So I have, in order for me to like just like cast Living Wish and get Caracas, cost me 2 mana. So this is 2/3 mana. So that's my Oblivion Ring. If I want to get Caracas, I actually would have to tap out for it, which I guess that's fine. Because I don't think my opponent plays like Spirit Guides. Note, I'm largely just playing this Oblivion Ring here for a draw. I think my opponent should have cracked the map in response. That would have made me exile one of my Abundant Growths. Alright, Urborg is what my opponent chooses to go after. So now my lands will have like all the activated abilities. And I've already made my land drop for turn, so now I'll pass. Note this Dryad Arbor attack is like super free. My opponent can't like possibly make the Merit Lodge here in the face of the Caracas that they know about. Not that I expect this to like stop my opponent for long. Like something as simple as a Wasteland or a Stifle will get through what I've got going on here. Wow, these... I'm so heavy on mana here. Another land would be great, yeah. Alright, so this has got to be the Stifle. That was rough. So, like, even if I would have, like, not Dryad Arbored and instead would have, like, saved the Green Sun in order to get another Enchantress, I just didn't draw enchantments after that, so there was nothing I could do. Lands are needed to play games of Magic. That is how that works. Alright, I have an Elephant Grass, I have a Utopia Sprawl. This is probably fine. So I can like start on Utopia Sprawl, get up to 2 mana on my turn. Following that, I can either green Sun for an Enchantress or just play an Enchantress. The win condition is in the sideboard, Jazzy. The win condition is Emrakul. Sorry, it occurred to me that I could Elvish Spirit Guide this turn in order to Utopia Sprawl this turn. But I don't think I need to do that. I don't think that gets me anywhere profitable. Haven't seen any of these suppression fields that would just be amazing in this matchup. I don't know what I would take in his shoe, like if I was in his shoes, because like this card is extremely difficult to beat. This is my acceleration that makes the rest of these cards better. This is an Enchantress, this is an Enchantress, this is a potential Caracas. Alright. So I can play an Enchantress this turn, and then start going ham later. Like I can just like play the Enchantress here, and then play Enchantress's Presence next turn. I don't think I just want to like fire off an Elephant Grass randomly, or I don't think I want to like Green Sun for Dryad Arbor here. Those 05 days are hard on morale. Alright, opponent getting a Dark Depths. I think I just want to play Enchantress's Presence off my lands, and then pass. I could try to get a little fancier this turn and go like Spirit Guide, Enchantress's Presence, play 1 mana, play Elephant Grass, start like trying to draw some cards or something like that. But I think it just throws away some resources. Alright, so I don't have the colored mana for that right now, but that will be very good. Yeah, I can see Banishing Light being fine. Oh, it wants me to attack. Sure. Tom gives me the smiley face in chat. Most of the Enchantress lists that I've played have been very, very different from this one, so I'm still kind of like formulating my opinion on what to do with this deck list. Ooh, that is my colored mana right there. The question is like, do I want to cast back to basics? So I can cast this, draw 2 cards, probably draw into a land. Yeah, I think I want to do this. Alright. So now I have a bunch of mana. So this taps for 2. I'm going to need to tap this for blue. And I'll back to basics. And elephant grass, can I do both? So this would tap for blue-green. Play this. I guess I could, like, not back to basics. But it seems game-winning. It, like, technically shuts off this Sanctum, but I don't really think I need to worry about that. Like, my opponent will have no mana. I can keep up this Elephant's Grass. Suppression Field is sweet. Oh, I can actually, like, play that right now. Let's play that. How do we win with back to basics out? Well, we get 15... We get 15 enchantments in play, and then we cast Emrakul. It's fine, it just takes a little longer. See, like, there's another one. I could Elvish Spirit Guide and do something, but I don't think that's necessary. No attack here now. I will discard a forest. I will discard a green sun. Do I want to, like, use this Spirit Guide? Probably. I'm going to draw through a lot of my deck this turn. Can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Let me start by saying I don't really know what I'm doing in terms of, like, actual math here. I'm just going to start playing cards. Oh, shoot, I paid green, green, green for that. I didn't want to do that. Oops. I wanted to, like, tap this and pay green, colorless, float some mana. I think it's very unlikely to matter. Well, I said it was very unlikely to matter. But here we are. All right. So that was just a Magic Online thing. That was me like wanting to tap this for mana and not being able to. I would have drawn like probably like 5 or 6 more cards. Would have found another Elephant Grass. Would have been totally insulated from that. That's just on me. I mean, regardless, I don't think I would have like gotten Caracas. I would have like just gone like deeper through my deck there. Because like I think if I just like start going off that turn, there's probably very little chance that I win. I also don't know. Yeah. Um, he beat me to it. I also don't know that I would have had mana to like Living Wish and pay the 2 for Caracas off my my own suppression field. Because like that's gonna make a Caracas activation 2 mana. And I played the Serra Sanctum that turn, and that's the only thing that could have gotten me to that amount of mana. So like I threw that game away. That was one that I had locked up. That was just like Moto misclick things. And then game 1, to be fair, like we should have like just lost that one in much easier fashion, but our opponent made some errors. Playing against Combo again. I think we're playing against Sneak and Show. So, I'm going to keep this, and we're going to see where this goes. I have a lot of fast mana, and I can, like, either way, I have an Enchantress effect. Even if one of these gets countered, like, I have another. So I can, like, lead on, like, a Green Sun, and get an Enchantress, like, play a land, then try to play Enchantress's Presence. Yeah, I have no idea how I'm drawing this many petals. It's ridiculous. So I can go petal, 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 Enchantress's Presence. Use the first Green Sun to get a Dryad Arbor. Or no, I guess I should go like petal, 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 Green Sun for Enchantress, land, Green Sun for Dryad Arbor, and then I can play Enchantress's Presence on turn 2. Or no, if I do that, this won't tap for mana. God, that's awkward. I guess I could go land, petal, petal, Presence, pass. Or no, I can go land, petal, petal, Green Sun. Good God, this deck's awkward. This version's so awkward. I was really hoping to like spike it in a 1-mana enchantment so I wouldn't have to think about this. Yeah, we're playing against Sneak and Show. Alright. I'm going to get an Enchantress here. And I'm going to do so because if my opponent casts Show and Tell, I want to have a permanent to put in, and that permanent is Enchantress's Presence. Guess I can get rid of this upkeep stop. I'm not interacting with my opponent. Honestly, like, I can really just F6 through all of my opponent's turns, though. Like, I don't have any interaction. Alright. Here we go. Let's try to go ham. Suppression Field isn't bad. That's, like, actively good against Show and Tell. Or, Sneak Attack and Grizzlebrand, sorry. The question is, like, should I just Suppression Field, or should I, like, cast an Enchantress's Presence and try to get more value? I think I need to do something disruptive. Like, this is good against everything they can do except Show and Tell for Emrakul. Do I want to Green Sun for Dryad Arbor? Next turn, I'm pretty much 100% to cast Enchantress's Presence. So right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. I don't think I really need a third Enchantress effect. I feel like mana is going to be my bottleneck for the time being. But if I whiff on some draws, I'll be really glad to have another Enchantress effect. Yeah, things are not going the best tonight. We are currently 0-2, so I'm going to have to redeem this one. We're playing against 3 combo decks in a row, which is not really where you want to be with this deck. I want to play against, like, dirtily blue things. So if I just put in Enchantress's Presence, I save myself some mana, but I will like, lose redraws for, like, Living Wish reasons. So this will essentially net me 1 mana. This will net me 1 mana, but this will have another card in play, but I won't get a redraw here. But if I draw a 1 mana cantrip, like Enchantment, this is just, like, significantly better to have in play. So under the assumption that I don't miss my next draw, this is just a better play. You don't get to do that. Under the assumption, but we miss our next draw. The deck list is on screen. If you click on the cards on the left-hand side of the extension, that is the Cardboard Live extension, and that will pull up the whole deck list for you. So we have played against Ant and Bug Depths, and now we're playing against Sneak and Show tonight. Yeah, opponent can go down super low on life here. You know, I'm not attacking their life total. Or if I am, it's in chunks of 15. So, like, they can aggressively dig for something like, say, Show and Tell, and go, like, Show and Tell, Omniscience, Emrakul. Oddly enough, I don't actually care too much about this Grizzlebrand. An Elephant Grass will neuter it, or, like, Living Wish for Caracas neuters it. So, this is not the end of the world. One of my issues here is, like, my first business spell I cast is likely to just get, like, Snap Force of Willed. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the petals yet. They're really good once you start going off. And they're kind of nice at the beginning of the game. But I feel like I have a lot of fluff in my deck. And by that, I mean, like, cards that aren't actively contributing to me winning the game. So, like, I have 20 mana sources, 16 lands, 4 Lotus Petals. And the Green Suns don't do a lot to go towards me winning either. I don't know if discarding Emrakul is correct. Flipping Search for... I don't know. Flipping Search, like, while it would give them another mana, they probably can't, like, activate that with Suppression Field around. I will draw some cards, please. Okay. Yeah, so, like, now that I'm already going off, these Lotus Petals seem sweet. Same with the Spirit Guide. That'll just give me green. Green's the bottleneck here. So I've already played my land drop. Let's cast a Suppression Field. Draw a bunch of cards. Now my opponent can't draw anymore with Grizzlebrand. I'll cast Elephant Grass. This is just a bait spell. Yeah, super happy to see that go. The goal here is resolve solitary confinement and win the game. So I think I'm okay with casting one more of those. Although maybe I should... Yeah, I can cast one more of those and still play this around something like a Spell Pierce. I should start watching my deck. I'm not worried because I can just, like, cast Green Sun Zeniths every turn for, like, the rest of the game. Okay, is there anything else I actually want to cast? I guess I can cast a Living Wish this turn. Yeah, this was a pretty acceptable turn 4. Alright, my opponent's done with me. So... I want Rex Sages. They're great to put in off of Show and Tell. For the same reason I want Choke. Eidolon's probably okay to put in off of Show and Tell. It stops Omniscience shenanigans and gives me a chance to Rex Sage. Carpet of Flowers is good. I'll probably consider boarding this in. For my Living Wish targets, I want to have Caracas, Sanctum, and Emrakul probably. Although maybe I'll board in Sanctum. This is also probably too many cards. Teague also could stop... That could stop Sneak Attack from being cast. Alright, let's figure out what I don't want, and then board accordingly. So, like, these are my cards of interest in the matchup. I don't think I want Back to Basics. Solitary Confinement is probably medium, because while it, like, will blank Griselbrand will still have, like, drawn 14 cards. And this doesn't really stop Emrakul. Like, it still gets to attack, so the Annihilator trigger still happens. Similarly, Elephant Grass is kind of medium for the same reasons. So these are cards that I'd probably consider cutting. I might trim some other portion of the engine. So I probably want the Enchantress in to go ham, this for acceleration, this because it's insane, and these as targets, and that does put me at 60. It will mean I'm a little bit fatter than I was before. Teague could stop Sneak Attack, but I don't really know if that's good enough, and I feel like shutting off my Green Suns is probably poor. I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to think about it for a second. I get 30 more seconds to sideboard here. I don't think something like in the Eye of Chaos is going to be strong enough to bring in. Yeah, I'm going to ship this. Alright, my opponent mulliganed very quickly. I'm going to keep this hand, largely on the strength of Rex Sage. Like, the best thing to put in off a Show and Tell is, like, simply an Omniscience. And this is great security against that. I have, like, Living Wish as something I can just, like, cast to get a Caracas if my opponent dumps in a creature. So I feel pretty safe with this hand, even though this hand isn't comboing quickly. Oh, man. O-Ring is an insane draw. Yeah, indeed. So that the split of those cards is so that you can bring one in and leave one in the sideboard if you so desire. But I don't want to Living Wish for a Rex Sage. I want to just have it in hand and have the surprise factor. My opponent also might think that I'm not going to have anything that punishes non-basics. So, like, you all know that I have a back to basics, but that's also been, like, sideboarded out, right? Alright, so we get to, like, try to get our opponent here. And I'm just going to put in the O-ring since it's the safer play. And we got him. Gross. Gross, gross, gross. So I can play Living Wish, play Caracas, pass. That doesn't really, like, improve my game plan at all. But it's probably my safest overall line. I could also, like, just assume that my opponent can't go, like, sneak attack and creature and activate next turn. In order to do that, they would need sneak attack, creature, and land in 4 cards without casting any cantrips. My best play, honestly, is probably to play Living Wish, get Caracas, play Enchantress. The only way that's awkward is if my opponent has some sort of sweeper effect. How much would I care if they have a sweeper? I would care about that a little bit. Let's play safely. Oh wait, I have 1 extra mana here. Alright. I'm just going to play it out. If they have Pyroclasm, they have Pyroclasm. If they have Pyroclasm, they're down to very few cards in hand. So we essentially have no castable cards in hand right now. Like, I know technically I can cast that Oblivion Ring, but I really don't want to. This is a touch awkward. I have this Living Wish, and I don't really have anything that I want a Living Wish for. Like, I can Living Wish for Emrakul and be annoying. I guess I can just, like, Living Wish for Teague and prevent them from casting a sneak attack. I guess that's fine. It just, like, means that I have to tap the Caracas. So it could get awkward. But we'll go there. We'll take our little points of damage. We're likely to attack our opponent for 15 with Emrakul at some point this game. But if we can get it to a 1 attack state, 100% for sure, I guess that'd be nice. Hello, opponent. How many cards are you willing to draw? So opponent's Force of Wills are currently off. Their sneak attacks are currently off. They've used 2 Show and Tells. So they will need some sort of like Pyroclasm effect to sweep the board, get rid of my Teague, and then try to go off, or another Show and Tell. I wasn't like the biggest Lord of the Rings fan growing up. Like I really enjoyed the movies in particular, and I thought the books were great as well. But I do appreciate a good Lord of the Rings reference. The movies were coming out like right when I was reading the books, so that was super cool for me. But the books definitely got wordy at times, especially in Return of the King. It's like surprisingly political, and there's a lot of like jumping back and forth between places. I disliked that aspect of it, but like the overall storytelling is great. Opponent discarding a whole lot of lands and a dead Force of Will. Puts opponent at 4. I'm going to attack opponent for 3. This means that they can't fetch or they will die. So this is good news for Phil fans. Plus, my opponent's best way to win is still like Show and Tell for Omniscience for Emrakul. And we've got that covered with Rex Sage. So that would just get another Enchantress. That Enchantress does nothing to sort of like make my game better. And it would just expose me further to some sort of sweeper effect like Kozilek's Return or Pyroclasm. So I'm going to do nothing with that, and I'll just pass the turn. Good thing my opponent can't answer enchantments. Let's play the world where we figure out how my opponent can win. I think Rex Saging the Petal is very aggressive. If my opponent does a if my opponent does like a wish for a Plasma effect, I just like bounce my Gaddock Teague and I'm in like the same boat again. So my opponent can Lotus Petal, put something in, but they can't crack this fetch or they die. That is an awfully nice Emrakul you have there. It is a shame that I had 3 different things that dealt with your 3 Show and Tells. We got the trifecta right here. Alright, we took that one down. 1 for 3 on combo. And yeah, I missed like the Green Sun as well. Like I didn't cast it, but like I also legally could not have cast it, so that was an entirely different thing to talk about for why not to cast it. So we're 1 and 2 right now. We should be 2 and 1 right now, but I just like totally messed up against Negator. I punted that one away. Life's hard though. We're playing against a bunch of combo decks, which really isn't where I want to be right now. All right, here we go. Back in for round 4. Playing against Ziggy Stardust. God damn it. I think we're playing against Sneak and Show again. Alright. What does this hand do? I have a lot of mana. I'm going to keep this one. So, if my opponent is in fact Sneak and Show, I have Living Wish for Caracas available to me. If my opponent is not Sneak and Show, I just have, like, Living Wish for an Enchantress playing Enchantress. Yeah, like, with Sneak and Show, at least, like, I have, like, these Oblivion Rings and shit to help out. Alright, how all in am I going? So I can play Forest, Exile Spirit Guide, play Wild Growth, have 2 mana, Living Wish for Enchantress. I really enjoy this deck when it gets to do its thing, Hellclan. That's what I'll say. I'm still getting used to this build. I don't think I want to go too deep this turn. I think I'm just going to Wild Growth, develop my mana, and go from there. Because, like, there's some world where next turn I need to Living Wish for Caracas instead of Living Wish for an Enchantress. I guess that's not the case if I have this Oblivion Ring. I guess I'm, like, safe. I'm going to just play out this Living Wish. I could play out 2 Petals first to, like, play around a Spell Pierce specifically. So it'd be kind of a brutal force. Yep. So that's 2 Petals for this, plus my Living Wish, plus this card. That's force exiling a Show and Tell. So the reason I didn't use the Elder Spirit Guide for mana was because, well, that might be our win condition. As sad as that is to say. Note that I'm, like, never casting this Oblivion Ring. Okay, this is cool. So that gets us an Enchantress and puts us back into the situation where, you know, if I rip a 1-drop enchantment off the top, I can start going. I do feel a little bit like I'm at the mercy at the top of my deck here. Like, there have been a lot of times where I've just been, like, needing to string some enchantments together to get things going. Alright, so there's a draw that punishes me for using a Petal versus a Spirit Guide. Because the Wild Growth just tap for green, whereas the Utopia Sprawls attack for any color. This is kind of why I miss, like, playing a traditional build, because, like, you have Savannas and stuff to just, like, make your cards more regularly castable. Sometimes it does feel like we don't have enough enchantments. Yeah, I see what you're saying, what you're getting at. So I guess I'm going to cast this at this point, and we have a 5-turn clock with the Dirtlers that we have, and I tap too much mana for this, and I don't care. I wasn't going to, like, play this out yet, but then I played the Ancient Tomb, which certainly motivates me to. Alright, what am I Living Wishing for? I suppose just Caracas. If I Living Wish for Sanctum, I can play Suppression Field, and I suppose that draws me a card, and it's annoying. But Caracas will be harder to beat. Cree? Thank you very much for following. I appreciate your support. No, we're real far away from Emrakul territory. Although that does make opposing show and tells way worse. Alright, let's start like this. Let's just like see if it resolves before I even need to spend any mental energy thinking about it. It does. I think I'm going to get Caracas. If I get Caracas, I can just like play Suppression Field, and I can leave up my Wild Growth Land and Caracas in order to Suppression Field bounce a creature. I'm actually... no, I'll tap this. It could potentially be awkward if I draw something that enchants a forest. No, this just enchants a land, so that's fine. So I already have my Dryad Arbor, so I don't want a Green Sun for anything there. I guess I just like actually want to attack with these two, in case my opponent is playing something stupid like a Snapcaster. I'm a little surprised to see that concession. That feels a touch early. Like, since my clock's slow. But I guess it's fine. Okay. So, how'd we board before? Probably want Carpet. I want my things that I can show and tell in and they can be effective. I think I boarded in like 6 cards before. So I think I went like my Elephant Grasses out, my Back to Basics, and my Solitary Confinement's out. So that's 5 of the 6 cards I brought in. And then I think I brought in the Serra Sanctum, leaving Emrakul and Caracas, and to a lesser extent Teague as the cards that I'm bringing in. Did I board this in before? I kind of feel like I boarded that in before. Yeah, I did bring this in before. What did I trim? Or did I just, like, not bring in one of these? Did I just, like, cut one random 1-mana Enchantress or something? Or did I maybe not play Choke? That doesn't sound like me. I always play Choke. Okay. Oh, I didn't board this in. I see. Cutting 1 Abundant is fine. Yeah, that's fine. This is kind of like the worst of your cards. Although it does, like, produce white. Carpet Flowers produces white too, though, right? Yeah. These suppression fields feel a little hard to cast early, just to like throw that out there. Well, I don't have any lands, and I kind of need lands to make these cards good, so we're going to ship this one. This I'll reluctantly keep. My hands could be much worse than this. And I will top that. So if my opponent fetches, never mind. So this turn, I will Green Sun for a Dryad Arbor. Next turn, I'll have quite a bit of mana. Like, if my opponent fetches, gets 2 islands in the course of their turn, my Carpet of Flowers will produce a lot of mana and ramp me pretty far ahead. Got him. 1 island? 1 top, 1 bottom. Fetch. 2 islands? So now I can, like, play an Enchantress, play a land, play Carpet of Flowers, go to my second main, make mana. Yeah, we're going. Maybe not all the way off, but we're going somewhere this turn. So I make 2 green mana. I will cast a Wild Growth, draw another card. Ooh, that's a great draw. Cast an Abundant Growth now. Draw another card. Less exciting, but still fine. And we get another card. Look at all these cards we get. Neat. So Abundant Growth can produce the white that I need to actually cast this on my turn. This could mean I die. This could just be like Sneak Attack and Activate time. Violent Creature, thank you very much for throwing your Twitch Prime money this way this month. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm dead anyway, despite... Oh, not dead yet. Really need my opponent to not hit Lotus Petal. Shit. Don't do it. Don't do it. No! Well, we had an awesome turn 2, and on my turn 3, I really would have locked things up. Like, they needed Sneak Attack and Lotus Petal and second Lotus Petal there to really take over the game, and they had it. Let's try again. That's right. I'm glad you know. Sneak and Show, only for the big brain boys. In all seriousness, though, like, Sneak and Show is a great deck. It is very consistently a fine choice for tournaments, even when it's not like the best deck in the metagame. I will keep this hand. Do you want to know why I'm keeping this hand? Because it has Choke in it, and Choke is an awesome Magic card. We can also cast Choke on turn 2, which is pretty sick. We also have, like, Living Wish for Caracas, so, like, even though this hand objectively maybe doesn't look like it does a ton, it probably will. Dark Saga 07, thank you very much for throwing your Twitch Prime money this way this month. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the Legacy content. I'm going to start with Wild Growth here over Utopia Sprawl because I don't necessarily know if I'm going to like want more green or whether I'm going to like need white mana. I'll probably need white mana. It's a little punishing if I draw like exactly Suppression Field and I don't Utopia Sprawl this turn. But it's probably fine in the grand scheme of things because I can just like play a forest. Oh man, are they just like going for it on turn 1? Arcane Artisan. That's pretty good against most of what I've got going on over here, unfortunately. So my plan is Living Wish for Caracas. And I guess I'm going to be holding that up for the rest of the game because this card's annoying. Hey, I understand one-upsmanship. I get it. Just going to like check my sideboard to make sure there's not anything that's better. No. So I'm going to be soft to a Force of Will here. I do want to play this out this turn rather than like using a Utopia Sprawl, because if my opponent like activates on my end step, or no, maybe I can afford to just play Utopia Sprawl. Yeah, I can afford to play Utopia Sprawl. I was thinking about just like holding up Caracas, but my opponent's not going to make it on their turn anyway. They'd make it on my end step, if anything. So I should just like produce more mana here so that I can more freely like choke plus something else next turn if my opponent like taps an island to do that. No, my mana requirements are hard enough in this deck that I don't want to be like bluffing like that. That is a neat draw. So I can Oblivion Ring the Artisan, and they can like put something into play, but it'll just poof. I can also just hold the Oblivion Ring, cast Choke, give my opponent one activation with that island, hold this for a potential show and tell, which would be one of the ways that I lose this game. I might like that better. I should play this out first, though. Spell Pierce is a real card in this matchup, as the chat suggests. When Arcane Artisan leaves the battlefield, exile all tokens created with it at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so now my opponent doesn't have blue mana, so I can just safely tap these, and it's fine. There's no blue Spirit Guide. So, do I want to cast Oblivion Ring? Stopping the looting side of this is somewhat relevant, but less so given the situation. If I cast this, I think I'm just going to play a land and pass. A suppression field or something of that ilk would be stellar. There we go. So one thing I have to keep in mind is that this affects my stuff too. So this will affect my Caracas. Yeah, this notably puts a damper on Grizzlebrand fun as well. I'm just going to stay the course here. If I were the opponent, I might have considered fetching with Scalding Tarn, tapping Ancient Tomb to try to help with some of the mana bottleneck problems. Well, ain't that fancy. Let's just, like, really muck with that Arcane Artisan. So opponent fetching with their Scalding Tarn there before they lose the ability to basically ever do so again. So this now costs 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they can still activate it once. But again, I'm still going to hold the Oblivion Ring for a show and tell, because I still think that's, like, show and tell for Omniscience is probably how I lose this one. The Scalding Tarn over there not looking so hot. The Arcane Artisan not looking so hot. Although these Serra Sanctums also not looking so hot. It's fine. I mean, everything that's going on this side of the table is dirty, right? Like, we've got Choke and double Suppression Field. We are the fun police. This is fine. It's not, like, insane. It's fine. This may backfire, actually, now that I think about this. Like, the best thing that I'm potentially hoping for is an Enchantress effect. But it's okay, because we're just drawing infinite lands anyway. So, we can't cast more than one spell. Alright. Opponent taking 4 here. Clock's looking nice. Yeah, that's the positive side of HC Fox. We are now done top decking Sarah Sanctums. That cannot happen again. We still got all this mana, though. Okay, yeah, but here's the thing. If my opponent hard casts Omniscience, I'll just Oblivion Ring it on my turn. They don't get a Deuter after it. So if my opponent has a force, this probably gets forced. Although due to that Eidolon, I perhaps foolishly played out. This doesn't actually do a ton right now. Man, it's really possible this game I should have just, like, O-ringed the Arcane Artisan and tried to beat down with the Eidolon. Alright, there's a sweet Living Wish. Can I do this now? I could, like, O-ring my Eidolon, then Living Wish, then Emrakul, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 7, 14, 15, 2 for Living Wish, can play around Spell Pierce. But that seems very risky. Or no, I already played this turn, so it's irrelevant. But it is something that can occur next turn. So the math works out. I don't know that, like, surely they have force, but I don't see it as unlikely. Opponent taking a total of 3 damage to fetch here. Opponent discards a land. Living Wish. So I can... How much mana do I have? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 7, 14, 15. This will cast my Oblivion Ring. This will cast a Living Wish. This will cast a Living Wish. But if I cast the Oblivion Ring on my Eidolon and it gets countered, it's super awkward. So I should probably just cast a Living Wish and pass and not be a madman. So if I attack with this Eidolon and my opponent like puts a creature in and blocks, I just cast Emrakul. Like, it blocks with a creature that they put in. And I'll just win the game. Although, my opponent will block with Artisan, so that's moved. Like, I'm a green-white deck. I'm not going to have any direct damage stuff that they need to play around. A Pyroclasm. Okay. That is your one spell per turn. Here's my one spell per turn. Right. Press F to pay respects to the Enchantress. The Enchantress that has died in the terrible, terrible fire. That was a weird game of Magic. Alright, let's go into our final round of Magic here. We are playing against the Fighter of the Nightman. Whoa! Who has been seen in the past playing D&T, Grixis Control, Stoneblade, and most recently some weird Esper Standstill deck. I don't have any real land to get me going. This one becomes a mulligan. This hand is fine. I don't really think I want a Living Wish here. I want more mana. Alright, if my opponent knows what they're doing, this probably just, like, ends up taking my Wild Growth to, like, try to strand all these cards in my hand, but I'm not 100% sure on their archetype, so they may want to just, like, take my Enchantress and stop some of the initial plays. Hard to say. Like, if you just take an Enchantress, though, like, I still have this right around the corner if I draw one land. So, like, if I draw a land next turn, then my opponent actually hasn't hampered me at all by taking this. Now I am at least a little hampered. No real need to, like, play out this Elephant Grass here. I'll save that for an Enchantress. I think it's likely that my opponent is playing some sort of Esper control deck. Like, their last 5-0 finish, although I guess that was from July, was with, like, an Esper Standstill deck. I'm just going to save that Spirit Guide. I don't want to, like, go on the, like, beat you to death with a Spirit Guide train this early. My opponents, like, Brainstorm lock themselves, so life's okay. They'll try again, though. They've gotten out of the Brainstorm lock. Meanwhile, I'm just over here playing Dryad Arbor. I'm not going to slam that 2/2 bear. Alright, so it looks like my opponent is playing Grixis control. That's disgusting. You stop. Now do I have to? No, that doesn't actually do anything versus Liliana. Black zombies, whatever will we do? See, the thing is that if I get an Enchantress effect, I'm just taking over this game. Did my opponent just forget to use Liliana? I think my opponent forgot to use Liliana. Alright, that starts it. Or did my opponent minus Liliana? No, they forgot to use Liliana. Oh man, draw step Culligan's command, blow up my pedal, make me discard a card. I think that is absolutely a mistake. They should have blown up that Lotus Petal. They're not, like, really winning by damage here. No, I think I'm supposed to play out my land there because I think I'm more worried about something like Snapcaster Hymn to Turok taking my stuff than anything else. Yeah, and that is exactly what would have happened. Mketer82, thank you very much for following. And Takula, thank you very much for throwing those bits my way. I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? This seems like a reference to a song. Are the rains in Africa? If they're in Africa, I think I've seen them. Alright, that was a sweet play from my opponent that I want to highlight. So they brainstorm with Jace, put some cards back on top of their library, milled with Liliana. Gurmag Angler was in the top 2 cards that they put back with Jace, and so now they get to, like, deploy it. That was a super sweet turn. So, I can O-ring one of these 3 things, but the others will kill me. I think I'm going to concede here and hide the fact that I have these O-rings, because they could be very relevant in a future game. I mean, I am aware of the existence of Creedence Clearwater, but I can't say that I could name a single track. I have heard it on before, but that's about the gist of what I know. Sorry. Alright, so Choke, sweet magic card, Carpet of Flowers, also sweet magic card, Doomwake Giant and Emrakul and Serra Sanctum will stay in the sideboard. Alright, that gets open for future Phil to listen to. I'll probably leave the Enchantress in the sideboard to wish for as well. So we'll probably be sideboarding minimally here. Suppression Field, great against Planeswalkers. I feel like Elephant Grass is kind of medium versus Grixis control. Like, we got Gurmagged early-ish that game, but a lot of their creatures just, like, aren't good and don't present much of a clock anyway. So I might, like, leave 1 or 2, but, like, I probably just trim these and whack the submit button. I also just could, like, trim some fast mana. Because, like, the game's going to go longish. I'm going to get disrupted. I'm going to get discarded. On the draw, I think I'll trim fast mana. On the play, I think I'll keep it to try to resolve an Enchantress or Critical Enchantment before my opponent can disrupt me. Confinement isn't that good when you get disrupted. No, my opponent actually has very few, like, cards that Teague shuts off. Even if they take out their removal, they'll still have, like, Baleful Strix and Snapcaster, so this isn't that good. Yeah, maybe I'll trim a Solitary Confinement, keep in one more Elephant Grass. Guess I could have, like, considered in the Eye of Chaos, but that seems like a stretch. Okay, so this hand is entirely the question of, will a turn 1 Suppression Field win the game? My thought is no, and I should mulligan this hand. But it's possible to get a freebie with this hand if my opponent keeps just, like, a bunch of fetches. This is indeed a gambling man's hand. Alright, chat, what do you think? Do I YOLO this one? I don't think I YOLO this one since the rest of my hand is just, like, so bad. But, like, I don't have an Enchantress, and I don't have enchantments. That's a bad place to be as the Enchantress deck. But if the Suppression Field resolves, I buy time towards those. Alright. This hand should be a mulligan. I'm going to keep it for the memes. Let's see where this goes. I'm just, like, super curious at this point. My opponent has mulliganed. As the children say, YOLO. But they don't really say that very much anymore. Now it's all like, yeet. Ha-ha! Oh, snap. This hand is, like, starting to look good. Alright, so we will get Argothian Enchantress. We'll play it next turn, like, play a Serra Sanctum, and, like, maybe do some things. Ooh! 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 Cackles maniacally. I guess it's possible I should have, like, played Dryad Arbor there, but, like, I have this back to basics in mind for future turns. Man, this second suppression field is even better than the first. Good enough to get forced. Alright, Enchantress's Presence. I can cast that next turn. I still don't have blue mana for back to basics. Still gonna play out the forest. Alright. So Abundant Growth is essentially free. If I just, like, cast Enchantress's Presence first, I can, like, draw a card, an extra card off it, though. Which I think I like. You don't get to do that. Gross. Alright, my opponent has conceded. They've had enough of me having fun and them not casting spells. Alright. So, YOLO hand with Suppression Field, unquestionably correct. That's what we learned here, right? Right? And TWN Dom, thank you for the bit. I do play anything. It just so happens that, like, most of the time, my own personal preference leans towards non-blue decks. Not because I don't think they're good, but because, like, I tend to enjoy playing Magic that involves things like Chalice of the Void because I'm a bad person. So, personal tendencies. This is a blue deck, right? We have 2 blue cards, Back to Basics and In the Eye of Chaos. So basically, always keep sketchy hands. Right, you got it. So on the draw, it's potentially, like, I potentially want to board out some of these Lotus Petals and Spirit Guides for other sweet cards. I think I want to play In the Eye of Chaos over 1 Lotus Petal. Yeah, they haven't seen Choke. They haven't seen Back to Basics. We've still got a few haymakers for them. Actually, like, maybe Lotus Petal is just better than Elephant Grass, honestly. Like, maybe the possibility of just, like, turn 1 Suppression Field or, like, turn 2 Choke or Back to Basics is just, like, better than anything else that I've got going on with that Elephant Grass. So now I've got, like, Back to Basics, Choke, In the Eye of Chaos, and Suppression Field is, like, great opening plays. Alright, so I have 2 Living Wishes for Enchantress. I have Green Sun Zenith for Enchantress or Dryad Arbor. This is a fine hand. It is In the Eye of Chaos. It will counter an instant spell unless you pay double its cost. It's not the exact wording, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so this Thoughtseize should take the Wild Growth as it's my accelerant, my best accelerant in this hand. Green Sun is notably worse because the Dryad Arbor can just be killed. But if my opponent has something like a Force of Will that could take out the other Living Wish, then they should just take a Living Wish. Well, I'm really glad they took that. That would have made it, like, an absolutely terrible, unplayable card. What are my best draws here? Probably just a Serra Sanctum. I'd really like to get one of those into play. Although something like a Choke or a Suppression Field would be spicy. I don't have the mana for Suppression Field yet, though. The Abundant Growth would get me there. So I can play a pair of Abundant Growths and get some redraws. But I'm probably just better casting Living Wish for an Enchantress. I'll play Dryad Arbor. I'll pass the turn. I've still made my land drop. My opponent has, like, an Edict or other removal spell. They can remove one of my mana sources, which will prevent me from going ham. Alright. It resolves! Holy moly, we get to try and do things. Alright, so I will play Abundant Growth. That will net me 2 cards, one for the Enchantress trigger, one for the Abundant Growth itself. Alright, so I'll play another land. I get to play another Abundant Growth. I don't really need to play Elephant Grass. Oh, I'm glad. I'll probably do an update of some nature after SCGCon. I've got some things that I'm going to test this week. Or at the very least I say I'm going to test. It depends on how much Mario Odyssey I end up playing this week. I've got some ideas. I probably need to like keep the GP results in mind when I'm building my list for SCGCon. And someone's followed. Katzen. All right, I can't pronounce that name. Katzen, thank you very much for going and subscribing. I appreciate your support. Or for following. Enchantress off the top there is stellar. Alright. So I can tap this, play an Enchantress, play a land, and just like treat Elephant Grass as a draw 2 card. Probably not even intending on paying the cumulative upkeep on it. Alright, that draws cards. But I'm going to draw a few more cards than that. So I don't think I care. You have a Gurmag Angler. Well, Elephant Grass. You became useful. So I can probably just like Oblivion Ring this Jace and then go about doing my things. So I can either draw a whole bunch of cards or just like play Solitary Confinement. This gives me Shroud, and that'll make my opponent not be able to muck with my hand. I think we're done. Although maybe I should just resolve no, I'll resolve Solitary Confinement. Or no, can I? No. I mean, like, Solitary Confinement, for example, keeps me from getting himmed, Culligan's Command, Thought Seized, Jace Plussed. Like, there's plenty of benefits to doing it. Plus, I have just, like, absolutely plenty of things in hand, so I'm not, like, worried about it. And I can let this Elephant Grass go. I don't need it with the Solitary Confinement around. So this Living Wish is going to get me Emrakul eventually and win the game. I need to draw into a... Oh, what's it called? Sanct... Oh, I guess like this turn I could just like Living Wish for one, make a billion mana, and go ham that way. Yeah, let's do that. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 8, 9, 10. I might be able to just like get there and make enough mana. Maybe not this turn. Jedi12, thank you very much for subscribing. I appreciate your support. Thank you for throwing your Twitch Prime money this way. Okay. So I can tap this for green, make green green, use some of that to do Carpet of Flowers, draw some cards. All right. Well, I'm going to choke my opponent off 3 of their lands and suppression field them, and then I'll Emrakul next turn, I think. I might go off this turn still. So I'm going to go to my second main to get some mana off Carpet of Flowers. Okay. Now I can take my opponent off of everything except Swamp, which presumably will be enough to make them concede. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm getting really close to just Emrakuling. Do I have anything else that adds more mana? I do. That one only hits a forest. That's unfortunate. All right, I think I can just like take the kill next turn. This is enchant land. All right, that is enchant land, so that can give me a blue. All right, so I'll tap that for blue. Oh, but then that doesn't give me a billion white. That's unfortunate. All right, I think I want a billion white. So do I want to back to basics? Nah. My easiest kills involve me not back to basicing, and I don't back to basics only gives me 1 more land. So I think instead I'm going to cast this. Alright, and that's probably good enough. And my opponent has had enough of me. I don't blame them. Like, we were going to Emrakul them next turn. They couldn't activate their Jace because of the suppression field. Their Gurmag Angler couldn't do me any damage. They had no outs there. Okay, so we went 3-2. We could have gone 4-1. I just, like, misclicked against Negator 77. That was on me. I wanted to tap my Sarah's Sanctum for mana, and I just did not prior to casting a spell. So I paid green, green, green instead of green, white, white that I wanted to, and it was super costly. So this version of Enchantress is really weird. The 5 pieces of mana acceleration make it so that you can do some really broken things with your draw, and it makes it so that you can go off harder once you are going off. So your combo potential is very good once you start going off. That being said, this does mean that this deck is five enchantments lighter, or at least a couple enchantments lighter, because you might play a few more lands without these than the average build. I'm a little worried that this build is too enchantment light. So there's 16 lands plus these 9 spells plus the 4 green suns that aren't actually contributing towards your enchantment count. I don't know, like, the numbers for this version versus, like, more traditional Enchantress, but it felt at times that this one was a little enchantment light. That might have just been my sort of experience, but it's something to keep in mind. I felt like we had some good sideboard options. Like, a lot of times we had cool Living Wish targets, especially like Caracas, Bajuka Bog. Although, like, we Living Wished for a lot of things. Like, I think we got a Teague. I know we got Bog, we got Caracas, Sarah Sanctum, Emrakul many times. Like, we have good things to wish for, and once the enchantments hit play, they were very hard to remove. I think we probably got... Well, we got Assassins trophied once, and then other than that, I don't think very many of our enchantments left play. There was an EE, which took out one of our Enchantresses, but, like, could have taken out some enchantments instead. So the reason why you can play Enchantress is just so that you can go and, like, abuse the fact that enchantments are hard to deal with. But the deck can be a little clunky at times, and there are a few critical cards where without them the deck kind of suffers. Like, without an Enchantress deck in play, this deck is very bad. So you need to, like, get an Enchantress into play and then have one piece of fuel left over to kind of, like, start trying to go off. This was a really interesting stream. It's kind of unfortunate that we played against so much combo, but, you know, it is what it is. Maybe that's the way that Legacy is turning now. All right. So thank you all for joining me tonight. Again, my name was Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for Legacy D&T. I will be back on Wednesday night at about 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and I will be playing 4-color Loam on Wednesday. On Saturday, I'm going to be playing D&T, and I will be doing so on Arkan's channel. So that's going to happen at about 2 p.m. Eastern Time. My normal morning stream, accordingly, will not happen. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to turn you over to some more Legacy content. I'm going to be hosting DN Solver, who is probably playing around with some Grizzlebrand, if I were to guess. If you enjoyed my content tonight, please consider doing something to support me, whether that's retweeting me when I go live, something as simple as that, or following, you know, subbing to my channel, doing a donation deck list. We are one donation away from doing some exhibition matches of D&T versus Miracles, where Anurag will be playing Miracles. All right, that's all from me, folks. Good night.